Hello and welcome into the KE Report. I'm your host, Shad Markwitz, and today we're getting an update on Goliath Resources. Goliath is traded on the TSX.V under the ticker GOT and on the OTCQB under the ticker GOTRF. I'm joined today with the founder and CEO of Goliath Resources, Roger Rosmus. And Roger, great to have you on the show as always. We talked about a month ago, but you put out some news to the marketplace on October the 27th highlighting the latest batch of high-grade gold assays from your Golddigger property in the Golden Triangle of British Columbia. Now, this is at the Surebet Discovery, and headline hole 10.72 grams per ton gold over 7.83 meters, including 20 grams per ton gold over 4 meters. So more proof in the pudding as far as a number of holes here that you released in this batch that just show the case for it coming together and building a larger and larger mineral inventory. What are the main takeaways you want people to have from this batch of holes?
Yeah, hey, thanks for having me. Always a pleasure to speak with you and your audience here. Yeah, we announced four holes, really decent grades, mineable widths, mineable grades. And in fact, all four holes could have been headliner holes here. Well, obviously, we can only pick one, otherwise, the header would be way too big. And then one of the holes actually had two intercepts within it as well. So it just shows that the continuity is still there. Obviously, you're seeing lots of visible gold to the naked eye, the VGNE. The takeaway here is we still have 84 holes to announce from this year's drilling, of which actually 66 of those were, call it, almost 80% contain the VGNE. So I would expect that we'll continue to deliver, similar results, from now till probably into January with, the various batches coming out with the cadence of the current lab.
Yeah, it's nice to remind people that you have those 84 other assays still to report. It's going to be happening over the next few months. You'll probably be reporting those all through November, December, possibly even January. And with 66 of them having visible gold, we don't know how much is in there, but we know there's gold in there. So that's a good sign. And the reason you've put out the core pictures and share that with people is that's usually a pretty good indicator that they're at least going to run. We don't know how much, but we know that they're not going to be dusters. So the good news is your team has really executed, Roger, on the hit rate. Maybe talk about that, how this season, the hit rate for the team, wherever you seem to put a drill hole, you're coming back with results.
Yeah, I mean, just the nature of the system. We've got these 12 stacked veins, kind of like a layer cake, where we do have a 100% hit rate, which is pretty amazing actually, in any sort of a vein type of system. And depending on where we're drilling from on the mountain side, we can hit multiple loads, let's call it, or one or two that we're focusing on. And within this news release, we also put in a few cross sections just to show the folks that the continuity is there. It does stick together. I mean, within that, the Bonanza vein 2, where GD 25372, our headline hole here. There's other grades in here of 11 grams over 27 meters, almost 12 and a half grams over 8 meters, 13 grams over 6 meters, 12 grams over 11 meters. So this thing has got some really good consistency here. And again, these are just gold numbers alone. We don't have the multi-elements yet, so I'd expect to get an increase, maybe slight increase possibly in these numbers, and those will be reported once we have all the multi-elements. So there's still more upside to these drill holes that we've been announcing, and that's actually all of the holes that we've announced this year are gold only, multi-elements assays pending.
Yeah, it's a great point. There's still silver and copper and other elements that'll be adding to the mix here. So just the gold alone, though, carrying the weight. And like you say, these 12 different stacked vein systems are just one of the rock types that you're now finding gold in. In addition to that, which is kind of the initial understanding of the Surebet discovery in the Bonanza zone, you now have the reduced intrusive relative gold, the RIRG, the dikes that we've talked about before. And you also, this year, have really dialed in that you have these broad areas, these calc silk breccia, like so this broken rock that also has gold that's fluids that have squeezed into it. So you really have three different rock packages that are carrying the gold. Maybe to speak to how that's still going to inform some of the assays still to report.
Yeah, I mean it's really a mixed bag of everything, but just the fact that we do see grades, visible gold as well, VGNE, in, three distinct rock packages would tell me or suggest that, whatever it's called the mother lode or the heat engine has got to be, pretty big and powerful that's lurking, laterally or at depth. Logic or certainly the trace elements are kind of suggesting it's down to the, below the mountain somewhere to the southeast, because we've got that jackpot showing, obviously, 1.5 kilometers away, where we saw chunks of gold right in the vein at surface. And, one of those samples ran, I think it was like over 20 ounces of gold, and that was gold only. So it's all connected, and, maybe it's sitting, in between the two type of thing, but clearly they're all connected to the same, the causative intrusive body that brought all this mineralization into the system.
Well, just a quick follow-up point on that you are looking for this mother lode feeder system, and maybe it's between Jackpot and Surebet, and maybe it's to the side, maybe it's at depth. You've made the point that you have a mountain of gold, and it really doesn't matter whether you find it or not. And you pointed out historically there's other mining complexes, maybe good to share that never found the source, but that didn't stop them from mining it for decades.
Yeah, exactly. Like, one I'd refer to, or this were alike to, like the Pogo mine, where they do have a series of stacked veins. They've been mining that for a very long time. They produced, I think it's around over 10 million ounces to date. So clearly the system that we have outlined at the moment, which does still remain open laterally and at depth, could potentially be, well, there's lots going on there, and it certainly is a big prize as is. If we, happen to tag into the causative intrusive, then obviously that would be a nice thing to have as well.
Nice to have, but you don't need it. You got plenty of gold. Lots of news on tap where we keep building the mineral inventory. But the other thing I think is worth pointing out is that on the 23rd of October, you did close the private placement for gross proceeds of a little over 26 million. So got about 3 million more than was initially announced. But also, this takes away the financing risk for the company because I believe you're now funded moving into next year, and you have all this news on tap without having a financing overhang. So maybe give us some of the details of that financing, who came in, and why that's a good thing for the company.
Sure. No, good point. Yeah, essentially the financing was, I guess, call it like a more of a strategic financing, where, a number of these large resource funds, the only way they can get a toehold in there to get their attention is through a placement. Because if they were to come into the market, buy 3 million shares, that would just be, obviously don't want to, they want to buy low at lowest as possible. But on that note, the financing was done at actually $4.39 Canadian with no warrant. The only warrant obviously was to the finders there, Stifel and CIBC were part of the syndicate as well. So, with that, there was a bunch of groups out of New York, a bunch of folks out of Europe, and that pretty much is the majority of the new people that came into the name, which is great. So, the guys at Stifel doing a good job, and obviously just with this correction from a timing point of view, just sometimes you get lucky that we're able to do a raise at such a high valuation. It's the highest share price that we've actually financed the company at. So it's always been up round. We've never done down rounds. And, I guess I just think that's a testament to just the quality of the asset, and obviously the quality of the people that are coming in. They're long term. They don't need a warrant. They're not hedgies. They're not looking to, mess around with the stock. Bottom line is they just don't want to miss the next Great Bear type of transaction.
Yeah, I think that's such a solid point. I mean, whenever any company puts out a financing, there's grumbling from the peanut gallery, but look at the price you did it at. Look at how it timed out. I mean, some of that is just fortuitous, but also you're bringing in a sticky investor base of these gold funds and people that want to be part of the story for the long term, and they just can't do that in the open market. But also now you're funded for next year's program. You've got all these results on tap for months to come that'll be catalyst for the company. And I did have a question that came in from somebody asking about, you have the shares of McEwen Mining on the treasury as well. They were asking if you needed to sell them. I mean, I look at the raise you just did, and I think, why would you need to right now? Because they're also having the same value drivers that any company's having in the higher gold price environment as a producer, also with the copper kicker. So could you maybe speak to that? Do you need to sell the McEwen shares anytime soon?
No, I mean, we just filed our year ends, our June 30th year end. It's on CDR and what have you. Obviously, very strong balance sheet. This is probably going to be the strongest position to date that we're going into the following another year of drilling for in 2026. Combined with the McEwen stock, which we don't necessarily need to sell right now, and the cash just raised plus the cash that we had already on the balance sheet. And then we've got another $2.2 million of warrants at 71 cents average strike. And those all expire like December 21st. And they're primarily owned by Rob McEwen personally and Crescat Capital. And then today, I mean, obviously, we're trading at whatever, 272 Canadian. So clearly, logic would suggest that those are going to get exercised. So, we're looking at close to, $60 million on the balance sheet going into 2026. So again, we can have a very aggressive drill program for 2026. We've already got 7 rigs locked up, the helicopter pilots, the helicopter companies, etc. And we're updating the model. Obviously, once we have all our results, again, probably news flow pipeline probably into January, at which time we'll update the model and formalize the final drill plan for 2026. But I expect it to be kind of in that 50,000 meter, 40 to 50,000 meters next year as well.
Okay, yeah, I was going to wonder if it was about the same size program for next year. So, a lot of news on tap here for Goliath Resources over the next few months, where we're probably just going to be jumping on here pretty regularly, Roger, and just talking about assay results. Hopefully, a few upside surprises in there, but we know a lot of it has gold, and then we still have all the multi-element assays to get back over time as well. So, a lot going on with the company. And for those of you listening in, definitely click on the link below in the show notes. It takes you right over to the Goliath Resources website, straight to their news section, where you can sign up for updates that hit your email inbox or just follow along with the assays as each batch comes out. And there's a pretty bright future here for Goliath, considering that you got the financial strength. It seems like everywhere you poke a hole, you're hitting gold, and you're still building a monster mountain of gold here as far as pulling this all together. So, Roger, always fun to have you on the show. Keep us posted. We'll get you on again soon, and looking forward to our next conversation.
Thanks, Chad. Pleasure. Looking forward to our next gathering. Thanks.